Hello everybody, it's Jayma Malme and I have something a little different for you today. I am going to make a card and I'm going to be recreating this card right here that has captured lots of attention in Close to My Heart's current catalog. Now, I played around with how to stamp these images quite a few ways and I think I figured out exactly how they did it, and so I am going to show that to you today. So first, what we're going to need is the Cape Cod Cardmaking set. We're using these layers here, and that is what is going to create our little background watercolor scene. If you look at this closely, there is no single stamp for this, so we are going to be creating that on our own. And I tested it a few ways and think I figured out the way that it looks best. Now, I might not be doing this exactly how Close to My Heart did it, but you're going to get a very similar look. We will also need these two little grass pieces, this thank you sentiment, or you can use any sentiment that you want depending on the type of card you want to make. We're going to need these little birds right here. So I already have everything on blocks ready to go. And then we're going to need our card base. That is this background piece here. That is a standard A2 size card, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. This piece right here is 3 3/4 by 5, so it is 1/2 inch smaller, and so we've got a 1/4 inch border all the way around. And then this is 3/4 inches smaller than this one, so it is 3 inches by 4 1/4. And I've written those down right here so you can screenshot it or write those down if you want. Now, I did some testing, and what I found is when I stamped these just full strength, and don't mind the little gaps, this was my first time stamping and I was just trying to get the colors right, this doesn't have the really soft look that this has here, and I was trying to achieve this soft look. Not that this is bad, you still get all of that watercolor look because of the way the stamp is created, but I wanted the soft look that we have over here, and especially up here I've got the periwinkle. It was a lot darker than I wanted for the sky. And then even when I did second generation stamping, that's what this is, I tried stamping the sand stamp, and you can see that this is quite a bit darker, but then I stamped it again without re-inking, so this is second generation, and it's quite a bit lighter. So I was stumped, like, how did they get that in between look? And the trick is foam daubers, I believe, or at least it will get the same look. So that is what we're gonna do, and that's what I did for this sample piece here. So for this piece here, it's still maybe not quite as soft in some places, but that's just the nature of using the sponge dauber. And I just picked up the ink with the dauber and put it onto the stamp before stamping it on. So I'll be showing you how I did that. Now, this piece is just a scrap that I had from a photo placeholder, and you'll notice that this is very close, but we've got an extra 1/4 inch. That's because I added this little like sunset piece. I really liked the pop of yellow and just that extra little, something that it added to this card. So if you look at the other examples of this card on this page, we don't have that. So if you did this 4 inches tall, you would be able to fit these 3 stamps just perfectly. So I added that extra 1/4 inch to allow for that extra yellow strip in there. And I just really like that pop of yellow and that look. So what else we'll need to create this card are some ink colors. And this is what I have found to match pretty closely. And I have them in the order of what we're gonna stamp first. So we're gonna do Periwinkle with Sundance as the little kind of sunset piece, and then Bluebird and Lagoon. So we've got the Bluebird down here and Lagoon here. The Toffee is going to be the sand, and then I've got Evergreen and Avocado to help us color these palm trees and these little grassy pieces right here. So if you're going to recreate this exactly as shown, you're going to need these little die cut pieces that go with Cape Cod. So that is these 2 pieces right here. And I'm pretty sure, judging by the size ratio, that they used this white one and then colored this toffee and colored this green. And then in this example, the smaller tree doesn't have much green. It's shaded a little bit of green, but not as dark. So I think that this one was originally white, and then this is the Toffee one. Now the Cricut collection, or the digital art collection, the palm tree is different. So you can't just go and cut another one of these to mass produce this, unfortunately. But maybe you could find something similar, a similar type of palm tree, or just replace it with something else. I really do like the height that that adds, maybe an umbrella there or something else. Or you can just do a fence without any trees like they did over here. We've got the fence in both of these spots here, which looks really good too. So this you'll be able to do only one time with one embellishment pack, but you can get creative and you know, add any type of embellishments that you want. But I'm going to show you how I got this look, but I'm going to be using a 1/4 inch taller paper. And then lastly, I have some dots. You can use any color dots because we're going to be coloring them with the gold metallic paint marker. I love these paint markers for so many different things, but it is going to allow us to color these little coconuts in the gold color. So any dots that you have, if you have some that you're like, I don't know if I'm ever going to use this color. Like I have so many melon dots that I've gotten from different packages that this is basically the pack. You can see I've already colored some in the past. This is just the pack I use to color, and there's also a copper and a silver of this paint pen as well, but it colors these perfectly, so you don't need to have a brown dot. So let's go ahead and get these things out of the way, and then we'll focus on our stamping. On the stamp set, they have it in the order that it's supposed to go. So here's the sky, here's the water, and here's the sand. If you look closely, this piece here is kind of tilted down on the bottom. So I actually find it easiest to start with the top layer because it's straight across, and it'll go straight across your piece here, and then work your way down. Because when I have stamped this in the past, that's kind of how I screwed this up, because I stamped it straight to the bottom here, and then this piece didn't fit on it because I didn't want to have the horizon all crooked. So that's how I started out with my gap there. So I find it easiest to start at the top. So I've got my piece that is straight across the top and the bottom for the sky, and I'm going to open up my Periwinkle, and then I find it easy to just have them opposite each other. So I've got the lids on the outsides and the colors on the inside. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have seasoned your stamp well. I have practiced with this, so my stamp is seasoned now, but I rubbed it on my hand like this to get any like manufacturing gunk off. You can rub it with an eraser if you want to. And then I did a few practice stamps onto scrap paper until it was stamping nicely. So this is all nice and seasoned, but you're going to want to make sure that yours is seasoned. And then we're just going to take our little finger dauber and go all over the stamp. And it's probably hard for you to see this on camera. Maybe if I hold it a little closer. Sometimes we get those round dots, and so I'm going to go back and just make sure that everything is nice and smoothed out. And with this first stamp, I'm actually going to cover the whole thing in the Periwinkle because we're going to do a separate line with the yellow. So I'm just going to kind of like part of the places, like I had too much ink here, I don't want it to be too dark, so I'm actually kind of brushing it instead of pouncing it to get some of that ink off. And I just want to make sure that it's nice and covered but not blotchy. So I'm not sure how well you can see that, but just trust me. So I am working on the back of my Versamat, which is a nice cushy surface. If you don't have a Versamat, then put this little foam piece that comes with the stamp set in your underneath your panel. And then you're going to go ahead and line it up so it's about equidistant from the top and the sides. So I'll go ahead and press down, and then you want to press firmly, let it sit for just a moment so that ink can soak in, and then lift it up, and we have that really nice light color right there. All right, so I am done with the Periwinkle, and now what I'm going to do is clean this, and I'm using my stamp chamois. So we're going to clean that, get all of the periwinkle off. You could use glacier if you wanted. I like the periwinkle look, so I just decided to go with that, and it looked like it matched the example. And that's also the color that's in the Cape Cod paper pack. All right, so now we are going to grab the Sundance, and you can use either the top or the bottom. I think I'm going to use this side that's a little wider, so I'll have that at the bottom. And I'm just going to dab on, just like I did with the other one, with a little bit of Sundance. And I'm going to kind of brush that again so it's a nice blended transition. I don't want a harsh line right here. And then we'll go ahead and line that up. And I want to overlap this one that we did just a little bit because you don't want that white gap to show at all. Okay, and then we'll press that down, let it soak in for just a moment, and pull it up. So there we go. Now for the Bluebird and the Lagoon, I'm going to have those out at the same time. You don't need those other ones out at the same time, but might as well just open them both together. So now for the water, it's this piece right here where you've got the kind of thing going up here. So if you look at the stamp has it in order. So it's going to be this one. So sand, water, sky, it's already in order here. So you can just refer to that if you're not sure which one is next. And so this part here is going to basically connect with the sand. So I'm not going to go all the way down to ink. I'm going to go mostly on the top portion, and then that bottom section is going to be a little bit of the Bluebird. All right, so I have that going almost to the bottom, overlapping a little bit where I'm going to have the Bluebird, because I do want them to overlap and blend just a little. So I'm going to come back and just dab the bottom with the Bluebird. This also helps to not have such a harsh line, like I mentioned earlier, between the two colors, because you're kind of blending them with this sponge dauber. All right, so now we'll line up the straight lines, and I have that overlapping the yellow just slightly so that we don't have any white gaps. And then we'll press down firmly and lift. You see that starting to come together? It looks so cool. So I may have stamped this a little bit too low. No, we're good. I think we'll have a little bit less gap down here than we do up here. You can always trim a little bit off or just stamp it a little bit closer to the top. No one's going to notice. So we'll put these inks back, and now we need the Toffee, and I'm going to ink that up exactly the same way as I did everything else. Okay, so I have it all covered, and we're going to go in again, just overlap this blue slightly, and there we go. So see, I even got it a little straighter than it was supposed to be, but see how it goes up a little bit here? So it's hard to start at this piece. It's easier to start up here. But we're overlapped a little bit, but that's okay. You know, it's watercolor look, so that doesn't matter. Plus our little palm trees are gonna be right here. Okay, so now is when we're gonna pull out the Evergreen. And this looks like the color they used to blend onto the palm tree. It's a little bit painful for me to use these on cards because I like to save embellishments like this for scrapbook pages, but this card is just so cute. I just wanted to create it exactly as is. So I'm just taking that Evergreen ink and I'm kind of starting in the middle and then blending out. I'm kind of brushing it. You could pounce it if you want to, but I find that brushing it gives, I don't know, it's just like a little bit different type of texture. But play around with if you're bouncing it, like pouncing it or brushing it, and it gives you different looks. All right, so there we go. You know what? Now it looks like they might have used a different color. Maybe they used pine. I don't know. But I think that looks good. Or maybe we could add a little avocado on top of it. Try a little avocado just to add a little brightness to that. You can use whatever green you want. And avocado is actually retiring. There are some colors retiring from Close to My Heart's catalog. this year, so they're available while supplies last. Now I'm going to do the same thing on here, and it's kind of showing up because this is a darker color on there, and I'm just going to leave that. I might add a little toffee blending on that just to kind of make it pop, but I'll add a little bit of the avocado on here too. Okay, so we've got our leaves on our palm tree done. Now we're going to go back to toffee. I'm going to keep these out though because we're going to need them to stamp that grass. Go back to the toffee. I think I'll add a little bit kind of pouncing and sliding on here. It just adds a little bit of extra dimension. I love adding ink. I do that on my scrapbook pages too. I love adding dimension with ink. So here I'm brushing, and then I'm going to come back and pounce because the pounce gives a different look again. So we'll slide and then I'll come back and kind of pounce. All right, so now we got our little palm trees, I should say. Okay, now if we come back here, we've got our little grass right here. So I believe what they did was avocado and then inked the edges in the darker green, whether they used pine or evergreen or whatever. So here is, let's see, here is the small grass, here's the large one. I'm going to go ahead and just ink the whole thing up again with the little pouncer, my little sponge dauber. And then we're going to come back with the evergreen and just kind of do the outsides. You could do distress oxides for this as well. It might show up on the darker color a little bit better. Just go back for good measure. All right. Hold it down, let it soak in for a moment. There we go. I think that shows up just fine. Really, really cute. I love that two-toned look. And then it looks like the other ones, they just did in the dark color, but there's a little bit of shading in the lighter green. So I am going to have to figure out how to do that. I'm still gonna pounce. I could just, stamp it, but I wanna have this same kind of lighter look that we're getting with the sponge daubers. And then I'll put one right here. And then this one is just half of it. So what I'm gonna do is clean it, and I'm only gonna ink up half of this. So we'll just ink that up. I'm just gonna add a little of this just for good measure. I like the two-tone look. And then we'll stamp that. Super cute. Okay, now I'm gonna take my water brush and I'm gonna test this first because I wanna add that little bit of shadowing that they did down underneath here. So let me show you again. There's just like a little bit of, it looks like green shadowing in the avocado, and I wanna get that look. So I'm just gonna take my avocado ink and smush it. And then I want this side of my, of there now, but I don't want it dark, so I just want to kind of test it first. I like that. And I'm just going to add that little bit of shading. Super cute. Might have a little bit too much water. So it made these kind of run. Okay, you guys, I actually started over, and what I did was I didn't like the water look that I had, and the water was bleeding onto the ink. I should have known better, but I didn't test it first before starting. So I did it all over again, but what I messed up the second time is I didn't ink this up with the avocado first. I did it with the evergreen with avocado around the edges instead. I definitely like the look over here better with that contrast of that brighter green right here, but I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to go ahead and hope I can fix it. And then what I've done is I've taken my watercolor pencil. This is the citrus leaf color. I'm just using it dry, and I've already added a little bit of shading with the watercolor pencil instead of with the water brush and ink, because I don't want that extra water, and I really like that. We'll add a little bit up here too. And then what I'm thinking is I can just go in, oh yeah, I like that. I can just go in and add some lines to brighten that up. And I think that that actually works really well. So these watercolor pencils, you can actually use dry as well. So I didn't mix them with water at all. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and add the birds in the Bluebird ink. Okay. So I'll stamp that right about here. And I love this because then when we have these on here, we have the visual triangle that I always talk about in scrapbooking. We've got the trees, the birds, and these little grass pieces, making that perfect little triangle. I just love this whole design. It's so pretty. Now all that's left is to create our little coconuts, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to fit 3 or they did 2. I might just do 2. Maybe I'll color 3, and then I have it if I want. So you want to shake these up, and then I've used this before, but if you haven't used it before, you want to prime it by like pushing it down, because this doesn't have any paint in it when you get it. And then it's really just paint, and you just go around. You want to make sure you get around the very bottom. I'm going to do 3 of these smaller ones, and it goes really fast. I'll do a few extras, but it goes really fast once you get going, as you just keep going. I actually end up coloring a lot of these gold. As you can see, I've colored a lot of them already. So might as well just get them all ready. I started thinking, I wonder if this will look good with copper. So I thought I would color a couple of them in copper, and we will just see. This is the same type of paint pen. It's just the copper color. All right, I think we can start assembling while those dry. So I'll just go ahead and put my first piece down on my card. We've got a 1/4 inch border all the way around. And then we'll take our stamped piece. I just love how this turned out. And we'll center that on here. All right, now let's add our little palm trees. I'm going to start with this small one. I want that one in the background. I'm just going to take a liquid glue that is has a fine tip. Add just a little bit of glue. You don't need much. And then we'll get that in place. Just like that. And then this one, we'll do the same thing. That one's tilted just a little bit out. I love that. Okay, now do we want copper or gold? You can do whatever you want. I actually like them both. The copper adds a little bit of a pinky tone. I think I'm going to stick with the gold. And this is probably not quite dry, so this might be dangerous. I'll try to be very careful. I'll make sure that those are pushed down really well once they are good and dry, but just wanted to get this finished. Really like how that looks. So fun. One thing left to do, we need to stamp our sentiment. It looks like the example, they may have gone straight to the ink pad. Let's see. I don't know, maybe I want that to stand out more. I think I do. So I'm going to go straight to the ink pad for the sentiment, because that is definitely going to stand out more. Ooh, this is so cute. I just love the look of this. I hope that you agree. So here is a side by side. It looks like there's like little tiny speckles, little splatters maybe. I'm not exactly sure how they did that, but I think that we did pretty darn good, getting very close to that example, don't you think? For still shots of this card, check out my Instagram and Facebook pages, which are linked down below, along with all of the supplies, and click the video on screen right now for a scrapbook layout using this Cape Cod collection. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.